Today, we need to have a very serious conversation about something that has genuinely been keeping me up at night. Because the implications for our community are massive. We are looking at a fundamental shift in how air travel works in this country. And specifically, there are new airport rules starting in the build-up to January 2026 that are disproportionately affecting travelers over the age of 70. I am seeing seniors, people who have traveled their entire lives without incident, getting turned away at the gate, denied boarding, and left stranded because nobody warned them about these changes. Nobody. And that breaks my heart because these are completely preventable situations if you just have the right intelligence. You might be sitting there thinking that you have been flying for decades and you know exactly what you are doing. And you are probably right about the flying part. But here's the thing you need to understand. The rules have changed, and we are not just talking about little tweaks or minor policy updates. We are talking about strict documentation requirements, completely overhauled security procedures, and new boarding policies that are radically different from what you experienced even 2 years ago. If you show up to the airport unprepared for this new reality, you could be denied boarding. Not because you did anything wrong, not because you are a security threat, but simply because you did not know about rules that were never properly announced to the general public. This isn't just theory or speculation. This is real-world knowledge from the front lines of travel and immigration law. I want to share this with you because I have seen what happens when passengers don't know their rights. Just last month, we received a report of a 73-year-old gentleman who missed his own daughter's wedding because his identification documents did not meet the new federal requirements. He had no idea that the rules had shifted. The ticket agent had absolutely no flexibility to help him, and that flight took off without him. I do not want that to be you, and I do not want that to be your family members. If you want more practical travel secrets and critical updates like this, please do me a huge favor and smash that subscribe button right now. And tell me in the comments if you are over 70 or if you are helping a senior traveler prepare for an upcoming flight. Because I read every single comment and I build my videos specifically based on what you need to know to stay safe and compliant. So let's dive deep into this. I am going to share 11 critical things you need to know before you step foot in an airport as we approach 2026. These are not suggestions. These are not helpful hints. These are requirements, and I am going to tell you exactly how to handle each one so you breeze through security while others are getting stuck. We have to start with the one that is catching the most people off guard, and that is the situation regarding your actual identification and the documentation you need just to get past the first checkpoint. We need to have a reality check about the real ID deadline because this is the single biggest hurdle facing travelers right now. As of May 7th, 2025, the federal government is drawing a line in the sand. You absolutely cannot board a domestic flight within the United States with a standard driver's license anymore. It must be a real ID compliant license. And here's the kicker that is causing so much chaos. Many seniors renewed their licenses years ago, often by mail or online, and they have absolutely no idea whether their current card is compliant or not because the state didn't make it clear at the time. From my experience analyzing these trends, I have seen this specific confusion cause more gate delays and missed flights than bad weather and mechanical issues combined. Imagine the scenario where you arrive at the airport with a license you have carried in your wallet for 8 years, a document that has always worked for you, and suddenly a TSA agent tells you it is not valid for air travel anymore. The stress, the panic, the cost of booking new flights, it is heartbreaking and it is expensive. So here's exactly what you need to do right now, before you even think about packing a bag. Go get your driver's license out of your wallet. Look at the top right corner of the card. You are looking for a very specific symbol. Do you see a star inside a circle or perhaps a star inside a cutout shape of your state? That star is the real ID marker. It signifies that your identification meets the federal security standards established by the Department of Homeland Security. If you do not see that star, your license will not get you through TSA starting May 2025. Period. There is no gray area here. Now, if your license isn't compliant, I don't want you to panic, because you do have options, but you need to act on them immediately. You can use a valid U.S. passport or a passport card instead of your license. These are always acceptable forms of federal ID. But if you don't have a passport and your license isn't real ID compliant, you need to visit your Department of Motor Vehicles immediately. Do not wait until next month. Do not wait until a week before your trip. You need to go now because appointments are already booking out weeks, and in some states months in advance as the deadline approaches. I recently heard about a passenger named Margaret, 76 years old, who was traveling to see her first great-grandchild. She got to the airport 3 hours early, she checked her bags, she did everything right, and she was turned away at security because her license didn't have that star. She didn't know. Nobody told her. She missed that flight and had to reschedule, costing her hundreds of dollars and missing the baby's first day home. Don't be Margaret. Check your ID today. This flows directly into another area where documentation is becoming stricter, and that is regarding your health. We need to clear up some major confusion about medical documentation because there are rumors flying around that are just not true. You do not need a doctor's note just because you are over 70. That is a total myth. Airlines cannot discriminate based on age alone. However, there are specific medical situations where documentation is now required, and the enforcement of these rules is tightening significantly as we move into late 2025. Here is the insider truth that the airlines don't put on their billboards. If you require supplemental oxygen, if you use a wheelchair for mobility beyond standard airport distances, or if you have a medical condition that might reasonably require medical attention during the flight, you likely need to complete a medical clearance form 48 to 72 hours before your departure. This is new for many people because it used to be much more flexible, often left up to the discretion of the gate agent. Now it is becoming a formalized digital process. The form is officially called a MEDIF, or Medical Information Form, but not every airline calls it the same thing, which adds to the confusion. Delta might call it a special service request, United calls it accessible travel services, and American calls it special assistance. But regardless of the name, they all want the same information. They need a doctor's signature confirming that you are fit to fly at altitude. Here's exactly what you need to say when you call the airline to set this up. You simply say, I need to submit medical clearance documentation for my upcoming flight due to my medical device or condition. Can you email me the required form? They will send it to you. You get your doctor to complete it, and you submit it at least 48 hours before your flight. This is not optional for these specific conditions. Without it, the gate agent has the authority to deny you boarding if they believe you might have a medical emergency in flight, and they will err on the side of caution every single time. Now, to be clear, if you are healthy and flying without any medical equipment or assistance, you don't need this. But if you have any doubt, maybe you use a cane and you are worried about your stability, or maybe you have a heart condition that requires monitoring, call the airline. It is infinitely better to have documentation you don't need than to desperately need documentation you don't have while the plane doors are closing. Trust me on this one. While we are on the topic of health, we have to discuss the changes regarding prescription medications because this is one that catches people off guard all the time. As of 2026, the TSA has stricter protocols regarding prescription medications, especially liquids and controlled substances. Here's what most seniors do not know. Your pills need to be in their original prescription bottles. I know so many of us use those convenient plastic pill organizers labeled Monday through Sunday. They are great for home use, but they are a nightmare for airport security under the new scrutiny levels. If you bring pills in a generic container or a Ziploc bag, TSA agents effectively have no way to verify what those pills are. The original pharmacy bottle has your name, the prescribing doctor's name, and the medication name clearly labeled. If you are traveling with a week's worth of pills in one of those daily organizers, TSA has the legal right to confiscate them if they cannot identify them. I know that is inconvenient, but here is why it matters. TSA needs to verify that the medication belongs to you and is legal. Without that prescription label, they have no way to confirm it. And with increased security around opioids and controlled substances, they are not taking chances anymore. So here's the workaround. Before you pack, separate out the pills you need for your trip and go to your pharmacy. Ask your pharmacist for a duplicate labeled bottle. Most pharmacies will do this for free if you explain you are traveling. Keep that bottle in your carry-on luggage. Never, and I mean never, put your prescription medication in checked luggage. Checked bags get lost every single day. Your heart medication cannot get lost. Furthermore, for liquids, things like insulin or liquid antibiotics, you are legally allowed to bring more than the standard 3.4-ounce limit, but you must declare them at the security checkpoint. Do not just throw them in your bag and hope they don't notice. Walk up to the TSA officer and clearly state, "I have medically necessary liquids in my bag that exceed the standard limit." They will pull your bag aside and test the liquids for explosives. It takes an extra 2 minutes, that is it. One more thing on this. If you use injectable medications like insulin or EpiPens, carry a copy of your prescription or a doctor's note. It is not always legally required for domestic travel, but it makes the process so much smoother. I have seen passengers get held up for 20 minutes because a younger TSA agent wasn't sure about their insulin pens. A simple prescription printout solves that instantly and gets you to your gate. Now let's move from documentation to the actual experience at the airport, specifically regarding security and boarding, because there are rights you have here that you are likely not using. Everyone talks about TSA PreCheck, and yes, it is fantastic. You keep your shoes on, your belt on, your laptop stays in your bag. It is a dream. But did you know that travelers 75 and older get to keep their shoes and light jackets on even in the regular standard TSA line? This is a little-known TSA accommodation that has been codified into their procedures, and yet most seniors have no idea about it. You do not need to pay for PreCheck to get some of the benefits if you are in this age bracket. If you are 75 or older, you can leave your shoes on during standard screening. You still have to remove your belt if it has a large metal buckle, but the shoes can stay on your feet. Here is what you do. When you get to the front of the security line, make eye contact with the TSA officer and say, "I am 75 and I would like to keep my shoes on." They will direct you through. That is it. It is your right. It is official TSA policy. Use it. Now, if you are under 75, let's say you are between 70 and 74, and you are thinking, what about me? Here is my expert advice. Get TSA PreCheck. It costs about $78 for 5 years, which breaks down to about $15 a year. That is less than the cost of one checked bag fee on most airlines, and the time and stress you save is priceless. You can apply online, schedule a quick 10-minute appointment at an enrollment center, and you will have it within 2 to 3 weeks. But here is the insider tip nobody tells you. If you have certain credit cards, they will reimburse the TSA PreCheck fee. Cards like the Chase Sapphire Reserve, Capital One Venture, or even some American Express cards cover it completely as a perk. Check your credit card benefits before you pay out of pocket. You might already have this covered and not even know it. Once you are through security, we have to talk about getting onto the plane, because the pre-boarding rights you have are often kept quiet. Airlines are required by federal law, specifically the Air Carrier Access Act, to allow passengers who need extra time or assistance to board before general boarding begins. This includes seniors who may move a little slower or need more time to stow bags. But here's the problem. They don't always announce it clearly, or they announce it very quickly, and many seniors feel embarrassed to ask. Let me tell you something from years of observing airport operations. The flight crews want you to pre-board. They would much rather have you settled in your seat, your bag stowed, and you comfortable before the chaos of general boarding begins with 200 people rushing down the aisle. It is safer for you to avoid being bumped or jostled. It is easier for the crew, and it keeps the boarding process moving smoothly. Here is what qualifies you for pre-boarding. If you need extra time to get settled, if you need to store a mobility device, if you have difficulty walking long distances, or if you simply feel more comfortable boarding early due to anxiety or health concerns, you qualify. Age alone doesn't automatically trigger a pre-board announcement, but needing extra time does. And let's be honest, many of us over 70 do need that extra time. Here is exactly what you say at the gate podium. You walk up and say, I would like to request pre-boarding because I need extra time to get settled. That is it. You don't need to justify it with a medical history. You don't need a doctor's note. You don't need to feel guilty. The gate agent will allow you to board during the pre-boarding phase, which happens right after active military and usually around the same time as families with small children. Now, some airlines might call this priority boarding or courtesy boarding, but it acts the same. You board early, no extra charge. It is free. It is your right. I once saw a lovely couple in their early 70s who didn't know to ask. They waited until their boarding group was called Group 7 or 8, and the husband was using a cane. By the time they got down the crowded aisle, he was exhausted, sweating, and nearly fell trying to lift their carry-on into the overhead bin, while people behind him huffed and puffed. If they had pre-boarded, the crew could have helped them with no rush, no crowd, no stress. Please ask for pre-boarding. We are here to help you. Now, if you are one of the millions of travelers who use a mobility device, like a cane, walker, or wheelchair, you need to know about the new screening procedures TSA began implementing more widely in 2025. You need to know what to expect, so you aren't caught off guard or feel targeted. TSA now uses advanced screening technology and stricter protocols for mobility devices, which means your device might go through a separate X-ray scanner or get swabbed for explosives residue. This is standard procedure now. It is not personal. They are not singling you out because you look suspicious, but if you don't know it's coming, it can feel invasive and frustrating. Here is the process. When you arrive at security, tell the TSA officer immediately, I use a mobility device and I will need assistance. They will direct you to a separate lane or a side gate where they can accommodate you. Your device will be inspected either by hand or through a scanner, and you will be asked to walk through the metal detector. However, and this is crucial, if you cannot stand or walk through the metal detector without your device, you can request to remain seated in your wheelchair. TSA will conduct a pat-down screening while you are seated. This is allowed. This is your right. Don't let anyone tell you that you must stand if it is unsafe for you to do so. Here is the magic phrase to use. I need to remain seated for screening due to mobility limitations. They will accommodate you. If they give you any pushback, politely but firmly ask to speak with a TSA supervisor. Supervisors are trained specifically on these disability accommodations and will make sure you are treated properly. One more insider tip for this section. If you are traveling with a collapsible wheelchair or walker, try to collapse it before you get to the actual belt if you are able. It makes the screening process faster because it can go through the X-ray belt more easily. If you need help collapsing it, ask a TSA officer or airline employee. They are there to facilitate the flow of passengers. Moving into the realm of special services, there is a critical timing issue regarding wheelchair assistance that you absolutely must respect. If you need wheelchair assistance at the airport to get from the curb to the gate, you must request it when you book your ticket or at least 48 hours before your flight. Do not wait until you get to the airport. Do not wait until you are standing at the check-in counter. 48 hours in advance is the rule of thumb. Here is why this matters so much. Airlines generally contract with third-party companies to provide wheelchair services. They do not have unlimited staff sitting around waiting. They staff based on the list of advance requests they receive for that day. If you show up at the airport needing a wheelchair and you didn't pre-request it, you might wait 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or even an hour for someone to become available. I have seen seniors miss flights, literally watching the plane pull away because they waited too long for wheelchair assistance that should have been prearranged. Here is what you do. When you book your ticket online, look for a section called Special Services or Accessibility Requests. It is usually a checkbox. Check the box for wheelchair assistance. If you are booking by phone, tell the agent specifically, I need wheelchair assistance from check-in to the gate and from the gate to baggage claim on arrival. Be specific about your needs. If you already booked your ticket and didn't request it, call the airline right now. Say, I have a flight on this date and I need to add wheelchair assistance to my reservation. They will update it in the system. And here is the insider truth that many people don't realize. Wheelchair assistance is free on all U.S. airlines. It is mandated by the Air Carrier Access Act. You do not have to pay for it. Now, many passengers do tip the wheelchair attendant a few dollars because they are grateful for the physical help, but you do not have to. The service itself is free, and you should never feel like you are imposing or being a burden. From the perspective of the airport staff, we would much rather you request a wheelchair than try to tough it out, walk 2 miles through a terminal, and risk falling or exhausting yourself before you even get on the plane. Airports are huge, gates are far, and connections can be tight. You are allowed to ask for help. You have earned it. Finally, we need to discuss a category of travel rights regarding invisible disabilities. Not all disabilities are visible. Maybe you have chronic pain, severe arthritis, breathing issues like COPD, anxiety in crowds, or early-stage cognitive challenges. These are real conditions that affect your ability to navigate a busy, loud airport comfortably. And you are entitled to accommodations even if you don't look disabled and even if you don't use a cane. Airlines don't advertise this loudly, but under the Air Carrier Access Act, you can request extra time, priority seating, escort services, or other accommodations even without a visible mobility device. But you have to speak up because gate agents and crew cannot read minds. Here is what you say. I have a disability that is not immediately visible, and I need a specific accommodation. For example, you could say, I have severe arthritis and I need to pre-board so I can store my bag without rushing. Or, I have anxiety in crowded spaces and I need assistance navigating security. Airlines are required to provide what is called reasonable accommodations. Reasonable means it doesn't fundamentally change the flight operation or compromise safety. Pre-boarding is reasonable. Extra time is reasonable. Requesting a specific seat near the bathroom because you have a medical condition is reasonable. Asking to sit in an exit row without meeting the physical requirements is not reasonable because that is a safety violation. But for the vast majority of needs, the law is on your side. Before we wrap up this comprehensive guide, I have a bonus tip that flight attendants wish every senior traveler knew. If you are over 70 and traveling alone, please tell your flight attendant during boarding. Just a simple, "Hi, I'm traveling alone today and I wanted to let you know in case I need assistance." Why does this matter? Because if there is severe turbulence, if there is a medical emergency, if you need help reaching the bathroom during a flight, or even just retrieving your bag from the overhead bin upon landing, we already know to check on you. We are not going to hover or treat you like a child, but we will keep a watchful eye out. In my experience, I have seen situations where that simple heads up made all the difference between a passenger struggling in silence and a passenger having a comfortable, supported flight. You are the reason the system exists. Your comfort and safety are what matter most. Don't be afraid to speak up, ask questions, and advocate for yourself. The crew is there to help you. These accommodations exist because you deserve them. You have earned them. Use them. Now, I really want to hear from you. What is your biggest concern about flying as a senior traveler in this new era? Is it the security lines, the long walks through the airport, or managing medical equipment? Drop your answer in the comments below. I read every single one, and your questions help me create content for Immigration News Desk that actually serves you. If you found this detailed breakdown helpful, please share it with a senior traveler in your life who needs this information. Send it to your parents, your grandparents, or your neighbor who is planning a trip. This information could save someone's vacation or even prevent a serious injury. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss an insider update. I have videos coming up on how to get free upgrades, what to do if your flight gets canceled, and the crew secrets airlines don't want you to know. Thank you so much for watching Immigration News Desk today. Stay safe, stay informed, and I will see you in the next update.